So, Loki is catching feelings for himself. I don't know how else to really say that. That's just very interesting. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Tyler Edwards, and today I am doing a bit of a review or a look over at episode 3, but really I'm doing my review for episode 4 of Loki. So pretty much, I didn't post a video for Loki last week. That's on me. I meant to, and it just never got made. So I figured I would rope it into this late review for episode 4. I've had a relatively busy week with work and home and everything kind of juggling, so I'm doing this late or early, depending on where you are in the timeline. So, with all the hemming and hawing going forward, here is your spoiler warning. This is a spoiler warning. This is a spoiler review. That is a squeaky chair. I am sorry. I am full of energy. I love this show. So without further ado, let's get into talking about episode 3 and 4 of Loki. Okay, so Loki episode 3, it's called Lamentis 1. The episode's titled Lamentis 1. Pretty much in this episode we see, sorry if I look down. If you see me look down, I'm looking at my notes on my laptop, just so I can go back for reference. So this episode really kind of felt like a filler episode. And what I mean by that is, it just didn't feel like we really got anywhere, meaning that the characters... okay, let me set this up. So, Loki and Sylvie, Loki follows the variant, who later goes by Sylvie, says, don't call me Loki, call me Sylvie. So, Sylvie and Loki, they go through the time portal, they end up back in the TVA at the beginning of episode 3. So, they go back in, and they're pretty much going through this really cool fight scene through the TVA, and then... I can't remember what exactly happens. I haven't watched the episode since it came out. That's kind of bad on me. Maybe I should have watched it to review this. Yeah, probably. Anyways, so Loki and Sylvie, they escape and they end up on Lamentis 1, this planet that the moon of the planet is crashing. Either the planet is crashing into the moon or the moon's crashing into the planet. I think it's the moon's crashing into the planet. Anyways, that's not important. Well, it kind of is. But so they get there and Sylvie's like, "What did you do? You've ruined us. Where's the temp pad so I can return?" Basically this whole episode is Loki and Sylvie pretty much kind of having to be a buddy cop pair in the sense of like they need to work together even though they kind of don't want to. Loki tries to figure out what this variant is and who, like what her purpose is, why, what's going on, what's her story. She doesn't want to say. Eventually, towards the end of the episode, they're kind of lightening up towards each other, and they're, being a little bit more open, or at the very least, our Loki in the show, our Loki, is being a little bit more open and vulnerable, where Sylvie is more guarded. We also get to see, a drunk Loki. We get to see Loki kind of also be a master of disguise, and we get a really cool and fun callback to the original Thor, which released in 2011. Anyways, that's the release date of that movie is neither here nor there. Anyways, so Loki and Sylvie, Loki, he throws a cup down or a glass and he says, "Another," and just like Thor. Of course, he doesn't sound like Thor. I don't know why I did a Thor impression for Loki. Anyways, so Loki and Sylvie, they're pretty much, they're like, well, this planet's doomed for destruction. We need to find a way out of here. So they sneak onto this train. And they eventually, because Loki was drunk, they eventually have to get in a fight. Loki gets thrown off the train, and then Sylvie either leaves off the train or jumps off the train, or she's also thrown off the train. Well, no, she throws herself out of the train. Problem solved. So then they walk to this where there's going to be one last shuttle to send people to safety. But according to Lamentis 1, what Sylvie already knows about the planet, that ship never left the planet. That ship never left. It was destroyed. So they go, and just as they're about to try to run and get onto the ship, it explodes in front of them, and then we get this really cool one shot where Loki and Sylvie are running around the city and trying to find shelter, duck and cover, run, beat up people in their way or whatnot, what have you. But the biggest part of this episode was the reveal that Sylvie tells Loki that the TVA is just made up of variants. These aren't specially made people by the Timekeepers. These are variants of real people that were taken from their timeline and put into the TVA. So they have no idea that they don't remember having a life in the TVA, because Sylvie says, with my magic, with my it's like not telekinesis, but something close to that, my mind control, what have you. She says, my magic, when I do that, I can't put in false memories. These are real memories that these people have. If they were variants, they wouldn't have these memories. So, at first, I didn't know how to take this. I thought, well, maybe she's lying. But that ties into episode 4. So overall, episode 3, it's the shortest episode we've had in the show so far. It was only 42 minutes. The only good part about this episode was we got to really spend time with Sylvie and Loki, which really got to make us really enjoy these characters a little bit more, or at least get to know Sylvie and kind of get to like her character a lot more. But yeah, so this episode wasn't my favorite because it's a little slow, but I always do enjoy a good bit of character building. The only problem I have is I don't like it when we have a solution and we're doing it. It went to shit. Okay, now we got to go do this again. Oh, that went to shit. Because I'm like, if they can't find a way off of this, then I like the characterization stuff and building character, but then you eventually got to get from point A to point B. And if you go from point A and you walk in a circle and you're back to point A, to me, that's just not fun. It's not fun, and it's not. I don't think it's that good of an I think it's a lazy writing thing. I say that like I'm a writer. I just find that to be a lazy trope that I see a lot in movies and TV shows, and I just don't like this. Like, we're stuck in point A, we try to get to point B, but shit happens and we can't get to point B, so we go back to point A. I like to progress, and this feels like stunting growth, and like, well, we're moving, and then we're halting, we're stopping in our tracks, and we're not moving anymore. With that said, that's the only complaint I had. I love Sylvie, getting to know her character a little bit more, and of course Loki. Decent episode. If everything else is like a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, I'd say this is probably like a 7 out of 10, 6, 7 out of 10. Just, it was good, not great, but good. But yeah, so that was pretty much my thoughts on episode 3, and now I'm going to discuss my thoughts and the episode 4. Okay, so episode 4 of Loki pretty much picks up where the last one ends, and sorry, again, I'm scrolling through my notes. See what I got here. So yeah, this episode, very much so, far from filler, not really a filler episode. Very action-packed, or very fast-paced, I should say. I don't think it's really necessary. It's action-packed towards the end. Very fast-paced episode. I loved it. I love episode 4 of Loki. It was very, like, oh my gosh, but also, wow! It's just a lot of different emotions all at once. Sufficient to say, very entertaining episode. So, let's talk about it. So, the 4th episode, like I said, picks up with the last one. Loki and Sylvie, they're sitting on some rubble, and they're having a conversation as they look upon the moon crashing into the planet of Lamentus 1, which I just discussed in the this earlier part of the video. So then the TVA Ex Machina shows up. I see the little boop boop in the back, the little portals, the TVA portals. I knew that the TVA was going to have to come rescue them, mostly because I was like, well, they're not going to die in Lamentus 1 on the 3rd episode or the 4th, or however many. So I knew that what they were going to do is they were going to have to come save them. So that's what they did. So before they're annihilated, like I said, the TVI comes in, saves them, and they're brought back. And of course, they put them in 2 different, like in the first episode, those time theaters, they put them in 2 separate time theaters. Mobius is talking with Loki. We know he's talking with him. He's like, they bicker like an old married couple, and then Loki tells them, hey, you're all variants. And of course Mobius laughs and he goes, what the hell are you talking about? Like, no, like that can't be possible. And he's just like, you're all variants. And he's like, wow, no. And I was just, it was really bad. Oh, it was a really bad impression. Anyways, so like I said, Mobius and Loki are talking, and Mobius starts getting under Loki's skin. He goes, you have feelings for this variant, don't you? That's so narcissistic. Why do you care about this variant? Why do you care about this variant? And Loki's like, I don't know. So basically, this episode establishes that Sylvie and Loki, or at least Loki, has feelings for Sylvie. It is not confirmed as to whether or not Sylvie will reciprocate or does reciprocate these feelings back for Loki. Kind of a sad day for Loki. Anyways, Mobius and Loki then, Mobius goes, look, I've had it, and he puts him like in a time loop. This time loop is pretty much like a prison cell. Loki's dropped in and he's on Asgard. And what happens is Lady Sif from the first two Thor movies, she was not in Thor Ragnarok. Lady Sif, she shows up, same actress. Pretty much Loki cut her hair as a prank. And, sorry, I thought my dog was coming in. Anyways, so Loki, pretty much, she comes in, punches him, knees him in the groin, and tells him he'll always be alone. It's very hard. It's kind of hard. It's like, oh, it's so sad. But, I mean, that part gets old. Like, for me, anything with the time loop does get old. Like, Groundhog Day, I like the movie fine, but it does get, it's that repetitiveness that kind of gives you a headache a little bit. That's a very minor nitpick and not something I really have against this episode, but that was just kind of like that's just a personal thing. Anyways, so Hunter B-15, with the Hunter that really wanted to kill Loki in episode 2, and who was mind-controlled by Sylvie in episode 2, she talks to Sylvie. She goes in, sits with Sylvie, and she goes, come with me. And Sylvie goes with her, and they go back to the Rocks cart. And Sylvie tells her that tells her what she told Loki, I can't implant memories. Those are your memories. And B-15 says, can you do that? And she did, and B-15 just goes, oh my gosh, it's so peaceful. Like, I looked happy. And it just, like, it's devastating to realize that these people, are taken against their will. Honestly, I feel like the TVA is kind of getting the Westview Citizen vibe of, like, they didn't know what's going on, but they kind of felt it the whole time. Like, it's just, like, very weird. Reminded me a little bit of the Westview situation in WandaVision. I love that show, but, it felt a little similar. Anyways, then we find out that we see Mobius. He's like, he goes to Renslayer's office, who's the judge in the first episode, Renslayer. Ravonna Renslayer. I'm just going to call her Renslayer throughout the rest of the video, just Renslayer. Anyways, so Renslayer, Mobius, they have a drink. They have they have Sylvie's, like, sword. They put it in, Renslayer puts it in her office. But Mobius has some questions. He's like, so what happened to Hunter B-20? That was the Hunter that we saw in episode 2 that was attacked and taken by Sylvie. And at the end of episode 2, she looked a little psychotic. Or she had a psychotic break, I should say. And what Sylvie did was she showed her the truth. And Hunter B-20 couldn't take it. When she came back, she was a little bit better for wear. But she was like, against the TVA, and Renslayer pretty much, we see later, Mobius takes Renslayer's, like, little time pad, leaves his, takes hers to kind of do some investigating because he doesn't really trust Renslayer as much as he used to, and he interrogated her, and then she was like, but everything's fine, Mobius, like, why would you have questions? And I'm just like, uh-oh, something's wrong. Anyway, so Mobius sees this video, and Renslayer pretty much be like, all right, that's it, cuts the camera, like, she, like, it almost felt like a very mom thing, like, B-20 is just like, how dare you, and all this, and then she goes, okay, and then Renslayer just goes, okay, that's it, turns the camera off. I just found that kind of funny. Not really, like, it's sad, but it's like how she did it was just like a mom that didn't want to be recorded at a Denny's or something, Anyways, doesn't have to be a Denny's, it can be an IHOP or a Waffle House. Anyways, I'm sorry, I have a lot of energy. So Mobius then goes to get Loki out of his little time loop. And when he does, as soon as they walk out of the time loop, Mobius is then confronted by Renslayer and a couple of other time stormtrooper hunter people. They're pretty much the stormtroopers of the TVA or the Marvel Universe because they have shitty aim and they're not great at their job. Unless you're, like, 2 feet in front of them. Or not important to the story. But Mobius pretty much goes, look, do what you got to do, but you know what? I hope that there's a me out there with a jet ski. Or do you say that, like, there's a version of me that's happy, or maybe a version of me that has, like, that had a jet ski, like, come on now. And then Ravonna, she deletes him, or, well, prunes him. I think is the term that the show uses. They prune the timeline. They pruned Mobius, and he's sent away. Loki then, Ravonna takes Loki. They go over to Sylvie's time theater. They take Sylvie out. And then we finally get to see our first look at the Timekeepers. Now, as soon as we see the Timekeepers, something's off. They're in a nice emerald room. You know, all the people, Renslayer, the four guards, the Timekeepers, and, of course, Loki and Sylvie. They're in this green emerald room. Eventually, I can't remember how it happened, but it could have been Hunter B-15 coming in and, like, helping Sylvie, throw Sylvie the knife, and then Sylvie then her and Loki get into a big fight with the guards and Renslayer. And Sylvie after they kind of beat everybody else up, she beheads the top. There's 3 Timekeepers, but there's one that's sitting above the other 2, cuts his head off, and it falls. And spoiler, we see that the Timekeepers aren't real. They're androids. And then after she does that, the other 2 kind of shut down. And Sylvie's very confused. Loki's very confused. And then Loki is wondering, well, he's about to confess his feelings to Sylvie when we see him start to fade away or get like, and then we see he's being pruned. We're like, oh no, Loki, he's being pruned. Oh no, they're going to kill Loki. And Renslayer, she just holds that little stick and prunes Loki in front of Sylvie. And it's kind of like, oh my God. And then oh dear, my lighting. After, well, I guess that light shot. Anyways, so Loki just, he's gone. He is gone. For now. We'll get into the post-credit scene. Basically, the whole thing with him and Sylvie of why, like, them having feelings necessarily could be a very bad thing is that could be the Nexus event. That is why the TVA is hunting Sylvie for, is that maybe not necessarily her existence, but her and Loki becoming a couple, being an item, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that is what causes the Nexus event. And I think they're very worried about it. But yeah, no, so after all that, I was like, whoa, what an episode. It ends right there, kind of on a cliffhanger. But there's a post-credit scene, which I didn't know about. I only found out about the post-credit scene after my friend called me after he finished the episode and said, did you see the post-credit scene? I said, what post-credit scene? I was driving. I was in traffic. And I was thankful I was at a red light, pulled up Disney Plus on my phone, watched that that 30-second end credit scene, and was like, oh my God. Loki wakes up, he goes, am I in hell? And somebody responds, no, but we must move quickly. Come with us if you want to live. And he looks up, and on my shirt, we see Richard E. Grant, who is General Pride in Rise of Skywalker, and the bad guy, one of the bad guys from Logan. We see him as classic Loki. He's dressed as classic Loki. We see Kid Loki. We see it's a black Loki where he has a hammer, which maybe means he's worthy. This one, I think people call him Boastful Loki, though I don't know exactly which Loki variant, what kind of variant of Loki this is, but Boastful Loki is, I think, what they call him or what he's called, so I'm going to call him that until corrected. And, of course, Crocodile Loki, which means if there's Crocodile Loki, there's got to be a Throg somewhere, so I'm looking forward to seeing Throg if he's in here, because that's pretty dope. But yeah, so that's the end of episode 4 of Loki. Very strange, very cool, very fun episode. Definitely 10 out of 10. I love this episode. This and episode 2 are so far my favorites. Episode 1 was pretty good, but after episode 2 and 4, it just kind of, it's like, it's not as good as, what came after it. But yeah, this episode's 10 out of 10. I loved it. But yeah, so overall, that's it. That's my review on Loki, both episodes 3 and 4. Thankfully, I was able to do it. But yeah, so let me know what you thought about episodes 3, episode 4, whatever episode you want to talk about it in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. And as always, be sure to like the video and subscribe. It really would help me out a great deal. I appreciate all the support. And I know on my last video was that trying ASMR video, and I might do a part 2. I'm probably going to do a part 2 within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that if you're a big fan of that video. And as always, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace out.